Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keels Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
You know, it's a blessing to be able to build someone else's dream while building your own, especially when it happens early in your career. You know why? Well, today's guest, he's doing exactly that. He's focused on client success by day, what I like to call the 9 to 5, and he's also building his business in a well-known industry that I'm sure he's going to tell us a lot about in his 5 to 9. He is the founder of Aureate Properties LLC, as well as the host of Will Power Podcast. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's show, Mr. Will Holdren. Will, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Billy. And I really appreciate that introduction. I'm glad I got to interview you on my podcast not too long ago, and excited to share my story over here now.
There you go. This is the power of podcasting. It's one of these things where I share with people all the time that this medium allows us to connect with people, to build bonds with people so quickly, and also share the stories, share what works, share what hasn't worked from your perspective, so that we can help other people to get to their goals much faster. But today is not about me. Today is about you. So
Love it.
Yeah. So let's jump right in, Will. So one of the things that, I kind of talked about, and when we were on your podcast, you shared some things with me, and I was like, oh man, you know what? This is super awesome. Like, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. But share with us, like, what is it that sparked your interest in being able to say, hey, listen, you know what? I actually want to help someone build their dream. And at the same time, I want to build my own, and I want to talk about that experience with other people. Let us in, help us along on the journey.
Right. Well, I think for me, it's important to understand what you want to do in life, where you want to go, and understanding how you can get there. Right. And so my story, you talk about how I got to my corporate setting where I'm at right now. I'm also building a business on the side, which I think is excellent. It all for me started from my podcast, which I literally started 7 years ago, a junior in high school, right? I was from a very small town, literally 1,000 people were in my town. And I always had this underlying inclination of like, I just need to meet people. I need to see what people are doing in this world to become successful, right? Whether it's building a corporate career, building a business, what are they doing? How are they getting these higher levels? What skills they're developing? And that's what really led me to start down this career path. And it's funny, look back on it now, just about every single opportunity I've had has come from my podcast. I got my job from my podcast, from someone I met, my business partners I met through my podcast. So it's been a really, really amazing journey for me so far. But to your point, it's building out my career path. It's the corporate lifestyle, and then bolting on a business on top of that, trying to build passive income and trying to scale both those things.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to tell you right from the beginning, you're not trying, you're actually doing, which is the thing that is even more inspiring for me. And as the Going Long family gets to know you more, they're going to understand exactly that. But, one of the things that, you talked about two things in the beginning, at least that I heard, and I want to explore a bit more. You talked about being from a small town, and I don't know what small town actually means because, I've been living in Europe for the last 25 years. So can you give us an idea? There's a follow-on question to that. When you say small town, like how many people, more or less?
Yeah. So small town, I mean, small rural America, like dirt roads. My neighbors were literally Amish growing up in my town. And we had about 1,000 people in my town. One blinking red light. So that's
wow. One blinking red light, 1,000 people, dirt road. And then you, on the other side, you said success. And so you were curious about how are these people successful? When you started looking at success, and you're talking about on your podcast as a junior in high school, phenomenal. What was your barometer for success 7 years ago in that curiosity that you had?
Yeah. See, I think success for me, especially in that early on, I understood that it really boiled down to having time freedom. And essentially how you get to a spot in life where you're going to have time freedom, right? You have that flexibility to do what you want to do on a noon on Monday, right? And so for me, that was kind of, okay, how do I back into getting time freedom And you look at people out there, what they're doing in their lives, and you see that a lot of them are building businesses, right? A lot of them are scaling their corporate careers. And so there's a combination there that you can go after. But for me, that's really what it was. And that's still my desire, is just to have time, freedom, flexibility, and not feel like I have to do something in my life.
Okay. Great. Now, are you still living in that same town, that same small town?
No, yeah. So as soon as I graduated college, I had a real estate mentor I met through my podcast. And he's the one that he's like, if you want to help take it seriously, you want to get your career started, I can help you out. I can mentor you. And he actually lived down in Atlanta, Georgia. And so as soon as I graduated college, which was December of 2023, that following January 2024, I literally packed everything up, moved away from home for the very first time, and went all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia. I was up in Pennsylvania, and started my career right then and there that quickly. So things escalated pretty quickly. But yeah, I've been in Atlanta now for the past 2.5 years, I would say. Yeah, just about 3 years. So
okay. So you've been in Atlanta the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You finished college in 2023, left in 2024 to move to, because Atlanta's not a small city.
Right. It's a big transition going from my hometown to Atlanta. And I'm, just outside downtown Atlanta. So it's a big shift, but yeah.
Okay. So give us some insight, right? Because there is a part of what I'm hearing, and this also happens in corporate life, when you are in your comfort zone and you're at home, right? And you're going away to college, going back. But I'm going to guess that there was some comfort in knowing that what you had at home was very familiar to you, right? Help me understand that as the first part of the question. Then I've got another.
Yeah. Part. Yeah, absolutely. I think comfort is a very big thing. And for me, I think it's important to stretch yourself and expand what you're doing, find new opportunities, and just do something different, right? I mean, look back, a lot of people I grew up with, right? They've grown up in that town. They've had a job in that town. They stayed in that town. They've never really experienced other things, other cultures, like different ways to live life. And so for me, was super comfortable. And yeah, I definitely could have had an opportunity to get a job up in Pennsylvania and stayed put and just be there my whole time. But if you want to grow, expand, you got to change yourself and step out of your comfort zone, because that's where the growth lies. And for me, I've experienced so much growth in the past 2 years, 2.5 years living in Atlanta than I would have never experienced if I stayed home in Pennsylvania. So there was a huge step right there. And it was definitely moving out of my comfort zone.
Okay. Because the opportunities present themselves. And, I've been living in Europe for 25 years. There were many opportunities, and there's also a lot of fear. There's a lot of, I'm a naturally curious person. So I want to go out. I want to explore. At this point of, travel to 91 different countries, or soon will be 91 countries in a couple of weeks, 90 countries so far, learned 4 new languages. And so there's this constant idea of following curiosity, but there's also always discomfort that's waiting. And I guess it's, what do you believe that has helped you actually lean into that discomfort? You talked about growth, and I understand that. And I'm thinking about our listeners, our viewers. It's really easy to get complacent, maybe not the word, to stay comfortable. But it takes a little bit something different to really want to lean into not being comfortable. Yeah. Can you maybe take us into your mindset aside from the growth piece?
Yeah. I think for me, what really helped me lead into that discomfort and really kind of pushed me over that ledge was, understanding that I've done over 200 podcasts myself. So I've interviewed a ton of entrepreneurs, right? And a lot of them have really unique stories, but their underlying basics are the same, where they take a chance, they make a move, right? And they take a risk. And that's underlying like what you got to do. No matter what you want to be successful in, you have to take a risk in it. You have to jump over the edge and say, you know what, I'll be okay. I'll manage to find my way out on the other side. I've been through how many situations before. I've figured it out before. It's just another situation I can figure out, not knowing all the details up front, but I'll figure it out along the way. So understanding that mindset, I think it's like, this is where I was supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is that correct next step. Let's just take it and figure out where we go from there. So,
okay. Have all the steps been perfect?
Absolutely.
Go according to plan, exactly as you drew it up on the whiteboard or your iPad or the wall?
Absolutely not. So it's funny. I mean, I moved down here in January 2024, and then I launched a real estate company about 6 months in. And that was also just another huge risk that you're taking. I found a business partner who wanted to join up with me. I'm very thankful for that. But again, I went through several people just to find this one business partner that actually wanted to do it, which in itself is a challenge, right? And then we got our first property. So that all went according to plan. It took about another 6 months to get a property. But then that first property, we had so many setbacks just on something small, something that was like a $250,000 house, right? You have no idea how many setbacks you can have. And it's just increasingly hard when you're the one that has to manage it, has to make sure the returns work out correctly, have to make sure you bring in tenants in. So it's a lot to manage. And there's a lot of ups and downs, and I've definitely experienced those. But what you found out is, again, you don't know all the details up the front, right? But you'll figure out the details as you go. And looking back at that first house, and it's been like a blessing that we got into that. Again, I've learned so much from doing that. And that put us in a position to meet other really great people in the real estate space to find another really great deal that we could jump into. And that's really how the engine just got rolling. But it's been a lot of ups and downs, and I feel like we've just got started. So who knows what's going to happen next? But
yeah. So, and if you're not watching the video version, you should check out like the smile that Will has on his face is just like, yeah, man, as he's going through all these things. And the fact that you can keep the perspective is really a testament to you, because you've already gone through, multiple, let's say you've already gone through your first cycle of something not going according to plan.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. So you talked about the podcast, and the podcast was one of the ways that you were able to eventually find your way into your current corporate role.
Yes. Yeah.
The fact that you are, you're in your corporate role. One of the things I like to say is, as you're developing and you're mastering skills, there's so many positive things that can come from a structured environment with, it's a corporate, it's a big company, it's a smaller company, whatever the case may be, but you're getting lots and lots of reps. Can you talk to us about maybe what are some of the things early on, because you're still early on in your career, that you are seeing that you're able to be able to really develop skills mastery in the role that you have? I like to break it up between your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9, right? Nobody ever does those hours exactly, but you get my point. So talk to us about a bit about that.
Yeah. So, definitely developed a ton of skills since I've started my 9 to 5. And again, for those that don't know, I work at a family office. So we work with ultra high net worth entrepreneurs and really help them on a holistic planning basis. And so there's a ton that goes into that. And, as you want to be an entrepreneur yourself, you have to learn those kind of skills of how these guys think, what they do, and just the kind of action that they're taking, their skill sets that they have. But ever since I got into my corporate job, I think one of the main things that I've developed is just my relationship building skills and being able to talk at a high level with these entrepreneurs at a level where they can understand what you're talking about, because things can get really technical. And so you have a skill set where you can break down these really technical matters into a way that anyone can understand them. I think that's a really useful skill you can take with you in a business you want to build, or, just building relationships on the side, because at the end of the day, everything revolves around relationships. And to your point, the podcast, the whole point of the podcast was to generate relationships, right? And so that's exactly what it's done. And it's a really unique way to do that, especially in today's day and age. But it's really helped me increase my skill set. So I would say that'd be the number one skill that I've developed since working at my job, I would say. And also just understanding finance. I think no matter what industry you go into, what business you want to build, especially I know we do some stuff in real estate, you have to have a financial understanding of how markets work. Kind of what are some industry trends, where you're looking at, what are key economic indicators that lead to other things happening down the road. So just having a better understanding about the financial world, I think as a whole, has been a huge skill set that I've acquired.
Will, and on that point, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Can you give us a very simple, we're not asking secret sauce kind of stuff, but just when you're saying like the increase of your financial, I'm putting words in your mouth, but your financial acumen, like really understand more about finance. Maybe a really simple example that you would have never thought of 2 years ago, and why it's important for someone.
Yeah. Well, one simple thing I'll say is, as an entrepreneur, it's how do you actually put a business together? So one thing I've learned, is like you can have a holding company. You can set up a holding company that can own a separate wholly owned subsidiary where you actually own a property in this company. The subsidiary has a complete liability shelter from your holding company because it's its own entity, right? But hypothetically, that's just one step to it. But let's say you have a lot of gains coming out of this subsidiary. Those gains are going to flow up to your holding company. Now this holding company can own another subsidiary, right? So the next property you jump into can go in this other subsidiary. Let's say in this separate subsidiary, you get losses in the first year from this real estate property because you got to do some remodeling, fixing up items, whatever that looks like. So again, just one specific thing that I've learned is that these losses can offset these gains at the holding company level, and you decrease your tax liability out of the gate. Yeah. And so that's just something I never knew, 2 years ago before we got into this world. So that's just one example, but yeah.
Yeah. And I love you giving that example, and just in case, and this because we're on a podcast, but Will is using this as an example. He's not giving anybody any kind of financial advice. He's not giving anybody anything at all. He's simply using an example to help us enter into what he has been able to really gain from being in the environment in his 9-to-5, which is helping him in terms of the way that he is thinking about how he approaches his role. He's thinking about, and maybe now I'm going to ask you also, how does what you're learning in that skill set that you are mastering, how does that also help you outside of your 9-to-5, let's say in the 5 to 9, or just general conversation or relationship building?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I'll say this. I don't think I would be nearly where I'm at business-wise, building real estate companies, that kind of stuff, without the knowledge that I acquired having a 9-to-5, right? Because I think there's so many people that want to jump into entrepreneurship right away. And that's really, you can do that. At the same time, I think there's a better option where you do go get a corporate job, right? And build there and understand how these things really work on an underlying basis, have that model, that business background that can really help you out, get you to some solid footing when you start eventually building out your entrepreneurial career. So for me, it's crucial. Yeah. And I would say if I didn't have this background, I might be going out pitching investors on deals, but have a much lower idea of what really is going to be going on behind the scenes financially, how to structure things, how to put together a partnership. So yeah, for me, it's been a game changer. I would absolutely do it again. And it's great to just build that corporate career, because every single year you're in it, you're learning more and more skills, you're meeting more and more people, and you're just, growing as a person every single year.
Love to hear that. And by the way, you would more than likely be working a lot harder because it just wouldn't land the same way when you don't have certain levels of experience, which I think is fantastic. But there's always this concern, right? Somebody they're really good at their job, at their 9-to-5, and they've got this idea, like, I want to do this thing, but I don't really know how to actually start that thing. I believe that everything starts with being crystal clear on what it is you want to do, why you want to do it. But as it relates to the career, it's about how do you integrate the career? How do you drive the particular outcomes? Because that's what are needed. So what is it that you do, Will, that helps you to ensure that you are giving your employer what they need, so that you also have the mental space to be able to perform in your 5 to 9? So specifically, what is it that you do to make yourself ensure that you're successful in the 9-to-5 first?
Yeah. And I'll say that it's definitely a hard combo to take on, because you're really working a lot of the hours of the day. You don't have time to be, raising a family, for instance, all the time. You don't have time to be doing all these random things, hang out with your friends on a random weeknight if you're trying to build a business at the same time. Because for me, and again, I'm very intentional about this. Like when I'm at my 9-to-5, I'm very much focused on the 9-to-5, and I don't do any business stuff at my 9-to-5, which I think is very important. But outside the 9-to-5, right, the 5 to 9 you're talking about, that's really when you have your go time to go out there and execute on stuff that you can't really do during the day. So it's a challenge, because, sometimes people aren't going to reply to you at 9 o'clock at night, right? They're going to reply to you during the day. And so you can't get back to them until later that night. So it's a difficult combo, but I think it's absolutely worth it, to your point, if you know where you want to go, what you're trying to build at the end of the day. And again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but yeah, if you do want to have more passive income coming in, then you're going to have to make these sacrifices up front and make these time sacrifices for that to happen down the road. And so that's just really just what's going to take. You just have to have that mindset that I'm not going to be hanging out with friends. I'm not going to be that social of a person, right? My time's going to be very focused on wanting to get done. And I'm going to keep doing that until I hit a goal that I have in my mind. And that's why it's important to you. What you said is to have a crystal clear picture of where you're trying to go. And then, that's where you're trying to end up. So focus on that goal and work until you hit it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so when you're able to compartmentalize, there's times, and I've spoken recently about this, that during my corporate career, and I was at the time I was married, I had kids, and so it was later, right? This is the inspiration that where
Yeah.
you are, Will, you've understood this early on. So many of us realize it later because there's like this calling, because you've gotten all these things, you've gotten to college, and you're supposed to do this. But what you start to realize is that you can get to building your dream on the side. It's just going to take the exact same level of intentionality, the exact level of discipline. Later in life, it's going to need to be coordinated if you're married, if you've got kids, or if you're living overseas, whatever the case may be. But there's always going to be something. You still are going to have to stay disciplined. You're still going to have to be intentional. You're still going to have to know exactly where you want to go, why you want to go there. Because if you don't, then when whatever, fire shows up, then that gets you on a whole different track, and you're not really paying attention anymore to where you said you really wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there something else you want to add?
Yeah. I'll add on to that too. I think it's important to just set up a morning routine that's going to set you up for success, because I think it's so easy for a lot of people to just wake up, maybe get some breakfast, and then go to work, right? If you start your day off like that, you're already setting yourself back on the whole business side of things, right? But if you can just wake up an extra hour or two in the morning or something and just have this routine, okay, I'm going to check my account, check my QuickBooks. I'm going to get a few emails out to some people, and just really have a very structured morning routine that can help set you up for success before you get into that 9 to 5. I think that'll change the whole dynamic of the day and just make you that half a step ahead. You don't have to be so far much ahead, but just a half step ahead can really just help you out the whole time.
Yeah. And once again, it comes back to being intentional, to have focus. During my corporate career, I used to wake up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And by doing that consistently over time, I was able to create 31 and almost a half days a year extra, just because, the amount of time you're creating more time while everybody else is sleeping. Now, fortunately, it was early in the morning, but it's the same result. So it's really aligned with what you're talking about, being very intentional from the time that you are awake. It doesn't mean you can't have fun. Of course you can have fun. You just schedule your fun. It sounds crazy, but it works really well. So we're talking about it a little bit, Will, but I would like to, because we've talked about a lot of the good things. You've kind of given some insight right now about the way that you schedule or the way that you're intentional, but the 5 to 9 can't be all 100% fun. Like, there must be some challenges that come with having the 5 to 9. Is there one or two maybe that you want to shed the light on, and just in as it relates to your reality, your, how you're living that now? Yeah.
I would think for me personally, some of the biggest challenges I've had, I mean, just when you're trying to build a business outside of working hours, is like saying no to a lot of things.
Whoa. That's so good. That's so good. It's so powerful. And I don't want anybody to miss this. Will you please repeat what you just said? Because it is so powerful. Stop running on the treadmill, or keep running, but just actively listen to what Will's saying right now. Yeah, I think it's hard for people to say no to things that don't really need to be in, you don't really need to do. And I've struggled with this a ton. And I've gotten better with it over time, but it's still extremely hard with me. When people say, oh, can you help out with this? Can you go out and do this on this certain time? Can we hang out this time? I think a lot of times it's the default is, yeah, I can do it. But in reality, you got to say no sometimes, and just make sure you stick to that scheduled time that you have to go out and build your business. I mean, that's one of the hardest things, especially, I'm 24 years old, I'm in Atlanta, single, you want to have fun on a weekday or something like that. But a lot of times you got to say no to some of these things. You got to make some sacrifices, and make sure you put your business first. And that's been a big challenge for me. And it's easy to put yourself down too, because you feel like you're working all these hours. You feel like you're working your 9 to 5, and then on top of that, you go home and work your 5 to 9, and then not much happens for like a week, and you do it again, and not much happens for a month. You do it again, not much happens for another month, and you still have to keep doing that. And then all of a sudden, you get this big action item that happens, right? And that to me is powerful. And so it's hard to realize that the sacrifice, you may not see the results of it right now, but give it a few months, give it some time, let it grow, and then you see it. But it's a challenge for me to continuously be, making these sacrifices all the time with no guarantee of success, right? Let's say there's no guarantee that this will work out. There's still a ton of risk. And so
it's just a hard mindset to overcome, but you have to be willing to just make that sacrifice without the guarantee that it's going to work out. So I would say those two are my main struggles right now.
Okay. Well, yeah. And just the fact that you are aware of those different items, is it gives you a leg up on the competition, right? The proverbial competition.
Right.
Have you found a way that, like, saying no is at a certain point, it is difficult. It's super challenging. But what's been your maybe go-to, or the way that you're practicing saying no more, knowing that it's a challenge for you? Because I have a sense that you're the kind of guy who wants to give yourself reps and being able to feel a little bit more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. One thing I've come to realize is that you can't feel bad about putting yourself first in some situations. And so a lot of times now when someone asks me to do something or to be somewhere, I'll just be like, sorry, I can't. I'm really just busy. Even though my busy is just me hanging out with me, getting some business done. That's busy to me. And so that's kind of just how I've been saying it. And it's not much more than that. You can't overcomplicate it, right? You can't feel bad about you putting yourself first. And if you don't do that, no one else is going to do it for you. And so it's important that you stick true to your promises and you commit to those goals that you have for yourself. And if you don't do that, then you're breaking these promises to yourself, which compounds, and it's just some more negative things going on. So yeah, just say I'm busy. Yeah,
I'm busy. We have got eventually other priorities. So, which I appreciate. So thanks for sharing that with us. Aureate Properties LLC. You've got your day job. You've got your podcast, which we're going to talk about. We're going to wrap up with the podcast, but what was the genesis for that? And really what you talked about a mentor earlier and started getting some things going, but you don't have to have an LLC to kind of get your business started, but it's there. So something has been happening for a while.
Yeah.
Let us in.
Yeah. For me, real estate has always been kind of like the end goal. It's funny. I interviewed a ton of people on my podcast, whether they're really successful in their corporate career, really successful entrepreneurs that aren't even in real estate. A lot of them are invested in real estate one way or another. And so if you look at one of the best businesses you can possibly build holistically, everything you have the options of it right now, it's real estate. For how much it appreciates over time, to the tax advantages that come with that. And so that was kind of my underlying passion behind wanting to start a real estate company. And so when I had my business partner locked up with kind of like an ideal hypothetical scenario of a deal that we could do together, I'm like, okay, well, let's get this operating agreement signed. Let's start up the company. And now we're good to go. But finding that person came first. And then starting the company came second. But it's been a blessing ever since. And I'm just happy to take that chance. But another thing that's interesting is people always talk about passions, right? And it's funny to me is that I don't think I've ever been extremely passionate about real estate or passionate about any specific kind of business. For me, what I'm passionate about is finding the vehicle that can make the difference. And real estate is that vehicle, right? There's a lot of ways to make money if you're passionate. So I'm just going to say that. But so real estate for me is just that vehicle that I can, I understand it kind of enough more than other vehicles. It has a lot of benefits to it. That's my vehicle I'm going to attack with and build a business with. And so that's kind of what led me down that path. Yeah. Yeah.
I think about one of the first things you said in the beginning is about being able to be somewhere at 11 o'clock on a Monday, right? If you could sell spoons, being able to do that, then, that's the vehicle that's going to allow you to ultimately get to that moment in time that you're truly looking for, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So one other thing then, I guess just kind of in wrapping up, like, also, you talked to us about you're 17 years old, you are a junior in high school, and you decided to start a podcast in a town where there's 1,000 people, 200 guests plus. And I guess just because I have my feelings about the podcast experience, what has been your experience? How much longer do you think you're going to keep doing it, and really, what do you get out of it?
Yeah. To me, the podcast is the lifelong thing. And I love the podcast, right? And it's not a money thing for me, the podcast. It's really just a way to meet people. And what I love is that you never know who you're going to meet, what they do, how they got to where they are. And everyone has a very unique story. And the more you can understand these people's stories that are super successful and, are accomplishing things, it's people that you're not going to see in your day-to-day life. I think that's awesome. And as I mentioned before, I've been doing my podcast now for about 7 years and up to like 250 guests now, which is great. But to the point, like I've never submitted a resume for a job. My podcast helped me get a job. My business partner sold a company for 9 figures, and I pitched him because I Instagram DM'd him, just cold out of the blue, DM'd him on Instagram to hop on my podcast. He said yes. Stayed in touch. 5 months later, pitched him on a real estate idea. He said yes, let's do it. So that to me is really the exciting part, because I'll say this too. I mean, I wasn't lower class. I wasn't high class, very much, a middle class person. So I didn't have a ton of money. And one of the things the podcast gives you is an opportunity to meet people that you would not have met with not a lot of money, get into it. So it's like anyone can do it. I mean, I was doing this from my bedroom when I was in high school, doing it from my college dorm when I was in college, right? Just from my laptop and Zoom. And so it's just the power of meeting people it's amazing. And the opportunities that you can come across is just, it's unreal. So it's a lifelong thing for me. It's been great. And yeah, I'll never stop because it just keeps growing. It keeps getting better and better. So yeah.
No, I appreciate you giving us that insight, man. And so look, I've got one last question I wanted to ask you, because you have been through, you're a curious guy. You've been through a lot of success. You've had some challenges that you talked to us about. And I used to think for a lot of my corporate career and then post-corporate that everything that I planned on happening, like it almost always happened, with the exception of not getting my dream job, but I don't want to go into that whole thing. But there was a moment in life when I had some both professional and personal challenges that happened right at the same time. And it made me realize that when things are going well, you tend to not think about it because things are going well. But when things are challenging, when you're at that like valley, it feels like it can go on forever. It's not going to go on forever, but it feels like it can.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in my life when I had to say something to myself. I literally looked myself in the mirror and I needed to say something so that I knew that it was time to like snap out of that like trough period and like start moving in the right direction again, moving and not staying stuck. So I want you to just do an exercise with me, Will. I want you to pretend that you're 3 years ahead. You've had some good moments, but I specifically want you to talk to the moments when you're at the bottom of the trough. Yeah. Because you're going to have to say something to yourself. You're going to look back 3 years in the future. You're going to look back and you're going to go, you know what, Will? I'm so glad that you said this to me because I needed to hear it in order to get me from where I was to where I needed to start going. What's that one thing that you need to say to yourself that you want to share with me and the Going Long family so that when we feel stuck as well, we'll just keep going?
Yeah. For me, and I've had some troughs already, but hypothetically that 3-year futuristic scenario, I would just say get back to the fundamentals, right? And I think it's easy to drift from who you really are as a person as things continue to grow, as things continue to change. But get back to the fundamentals of who you are and what got you to where you are. And what I mean by that is you get back to the morning routine that worked, right? Don't be drinking every night, like don't be doing drugs or things like that. Like, stay on that path. Stay back to the fundamentals. Do the things that lead to success, right? And then if you get back into that mindset, your body's healthy, your mind is healthy, it's going to take you out of that trough, and then you're going to get back to level ground, and eventually you can go back up to a high peak again. But I think getting back to that fundamental point, basics of what success is, and following through with that every single day, just win one day at a time, make it to the next day, and that compounds, that gets you out of it, just like that.
Oh man, absolutely love that. So get back to the fundamentals, don't drift, get back to it. And then that helps you to get back into formation. So
absolutely,
man, these conversations, Will, they fly by literally. Like I'm imagining you're talking to us in the very beginning. And as you're helping us understand, like you're going, hey, look, I'm a guy from a small town, dirt roads, 1,000 people. And I was curious, and I'm still curious, so much to the fact that I need to figure out, I know there are people out there that are successful. How in the world are they so successful? For you, successful meant owning your time and being able to do something that was in alignment with that. In order for your curiosity to get in touch with those people, you decided at 17 years old to start a podcast. Junior year in high school, you're doing a podcast, you're from your closet, or then you take it on to your dorm room. And 6 years later, 7 years later, you've now had the opportunity to interview over 200 people, have conversations with over 200 people, and get you to a point in your life where you haven't even had to have a resume to get a job. You've also had that curiosity to take you from Pennsylvania to Georgia, where you are right now. And you've gone through different reps. You've decided, hey, listen, you're working in a family office. It's helping you to increase your level of understanding, your sophistication around finance, around building and crafting deals, around meeting people, building relationships. And it's also in that 9 to 5 that you're continuing to build and leverage skills. You're able to take those skills also outside in your 5 to 9 to be able to say, hey, listen, I know how to evaluate. I know how to build and meet new relationships, and also continuing to have the intentionality, not always doing the things that maybe you want to do, but because you have a bigger goal, you know where it is that you want to go. And you're recognizing that it's also important to be able to say no. And so all of these things that you've shared with us, you've talked to us about Aureate Properties LLC. You've talked to us about your Willpower podcast. Help me and the Going Long family, because they're going, Billy, you're talking too much, man. Just ask them the question. So the question is, how can we know more about you? How can we find out more about how we can enter into your world? What's the best way to know?
Yeah, I always love, reaching out to people. So feel free to text me. I give you guys my number. It's 570-441-0308. Shoot me a text. And you can also go to our website, aureateproperties.com. I got my contact info on there as well. And we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. And you can also check out our podcast, the Willpower Podcast, and check out Billy's story on there, which was absolutely incredible. But I'm out there. So yeah, just Google it, All
right. That's been said a lot now. Just Google it.
Just Google it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, Going Long family. And as you reach out to Will, depending on what means you reach out to him, just let him know that you've already invested time to get to know more about him, his story. And that way it's going to help the two of you have a conversation that's much more fluid. You have a common foundation. And because of that, well, listen, Will, I just want to say on behalf of the Going Long family, thank you very much for deciding to invest your time with me, with us. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate it.
All right. Fantastic. And Going Long family, really quickly, thanks for being here, listening to Will and I. Make sure you reach out to him. And in the meantime, I'm going to be here preparing for the next conversation. So go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much.